Honorable, let's begin with the appointments themselves. The announcement has generated significant interest because it appears to signal an early start to the NPP's 2028 campaign. Why unveil a 16-member political operations team this early in the electoral cycle?
Well, thank you, Akol, and let me wish our audience a good morning. You see, the biggest talking point in the last half of last year, 2025, was the NPP presidential primaries.
Yeah.
And there were all sorts of views that it was too early, the timing was not good, and so on. Yeah. The party thought it wise to go ahead with those presidential primaries. And from July 2025, the floodgates were opened for the primaries, and the primaries concluded in January 2026. Now, the big advantage that gives the NPP is that it gives us a head start in terms of getting ourselves ready for the general elections in 2028. So, having done that successfully and chosen a presidential candidate in the person of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, we have no time to waste. Before these appointments that we are talking about, you would remember that the party, taking advantage of the early conclusion of the presidential primaries, has gone ahead to appoint about 22 policy committees spanning all fields of endeavor: the economy, agriculture, transport, social, employment. About 22 policy committees. I am on, I think, 2 or 3 of those committees, on the employment committee, on the trade and industry committee, and so on. Now, these policy committees, as the name implies, are to meet with every stakeholder in that sector. So the transport committee, for example, is supposed to hold interactions and meetings with transport unions, all the various transport unions, people in the bookmen, Okada, everybody, to understand the nature of the industry today and the constraints facing the industry today, to help the committee fashion out policies as alternatives. Now, that is a very serious and major exercise, and that has been done. The hope is that by the first quarter of 2027, these policy committees are supposed to finish all the consultations and stakeholder engagements and come out with policy recommendations that would eventually feed into the NPP manifesto for 2028. And really, apart from everything else, the major thing that you are going to offer the Ghanaian people in their choice is your manifesto, your policy alternatives. So that's a very important as that has been done. These current appointments primarily are in the office of the presidential candidate.
So that's the line we need to draw, because a lot of people are confused. Is this different from the, and how is this committee going to work and all of that? So this is specifically, this sits in the office of the presidential candidate.
I think the announcement said so. So in that office, the chief of staff is now, as formally is now the Honorable Chairman Bonsu, who, in terms of the office, will be the second in command to the presidential candidate. The office in terms of the activities of the office, reaching out to identifiable groups. My brother, Pariansa, would be in charge of that effort. That is another huge effort. Look at all the identifiable groups, including you, the media. You are an identifiable group. And the office of the flag bearer has set up a team to do outreach to all of these identifiable groups. And my brother, Opariansa, I'm sure you know him quite well, is in charge. When it comes to organization from the office of the flag bearer or the presidential candidates, my brother Tony Cabo. When it comes to communications in terms of the office of the flag bearer or the presidential candidate, I am the senior person there.
So that's the political advisor, the communication advisor. The political advisor is actually Fred Owari. And then there's this electoral strategy, advising the flag bearer on electoral strategy. That is Mark Menu and so on. So these appointments are to consolidate operations at the office of the presidential candidate. In my case, I also double as when you go out of the presidential candidate's office. I also double as the party's. The party has a communications committee, which is supposed to advise the party itself or direct the party's work as far as communication is concerned. I also double as the chairman of that. So in myself, the two roles are merged, both for the party and for the presidential candidate. And so these appointments are basically for the operations of the office of the presidential candidates. All right. Now, let me quickly go over the list for our listeners who may have not come across the list. Like Honorable mentioned, the Honorable former Majority Leader, Honorable Chairman Sabonsu, is serving as the Chief of Staff, while ex-MP Frederick Opariansa takes charge of identifiable activities. Peter McMenu, former NPP Chairman, named Director of Political Strategies. The other key appointments include Fred Owari, Political Advisor, the man in the studio with us, and Akomea is the Communication Advisor. Agyapong Nkrumah is in charge of Policy Coordination. The Honorable Anthony Cabo in charge of Organization and Youth Inclusion. Dennis Miracles Abuaji, Director of Communications. Krobia Kwabena Sante is the Director of New Media and Aid. Dr. Gideon Buako is Economic Advisor and Economic Spokesperson. There's Akbar Yusuf Komeni is Spokesperson and Aid. There's Akosia Menu, who is a Gender Advisor. Honorable Ama Frimpong is the Legal Advisor. Dr. Ekuya Amwakon is Spokesperson. Kofi Tonto is Director in charge of Protocol. And Ambassador Enos in charge of Diplomatic Relations. So you realize that the team blends veteran party strategists with younger communicators and policy experts. I want to find out, Honorable, were there specific lessons from the NPP's 2024 defeat that might have shaped the composition of this team?
Essentially, the team all were active in the 2024 elections. So there isn't any definite departure. We all know the reasons why we were not successful in the last elections, and there have been various studies across board. Some have been done by private people, some have been done by institutions, and they all have outlined the key reasons. The economic situation between 2022 to 2024, even though the government had done a lot to come out of that situation, it wasn't enough. And so basically, disappointment with the situation as we found ourselves, and we suffered for it. And so really that is the key reason. And when you look at all the studies that have been done before the elections in 2024, Afrobarometer, the Economics Intelligence Unit, even if you include private people like Musa Dankwa and so on.
Global Info Analytics.
And then when you come to 2025, the party itself commissioned a study, the Michael Kwe Committee. There have been the studies done by foreign institutions like Frederick Egbert and so on. All of them point to the same conclusion. So we had this weight of the economic situation, basically, and also the general despondency that situation had brought. And we are aware it was just 1 or 2 years ago. The difficulties that the country had gone through. So it wasn't anything basically wrong with the structure of the campaign, and that's why you can see that literally everybody in this new team at the office. Well, it's not a new team, but at the office of the basically have been there for quite a while. But of course, campaigning from opposition is different from campaigning when in government. In all aspects. Even if you take communication, communication in government is different from communication in opposition. So the strategy will change, and the people who have been selected, I'm sure, are very qualified. But that is not the exhaustive list, because you can't have a list of 100 or 200 people. Our ability to stretch across the party and bring every talent on board will be key. If you take communication, those people that you see there, myself, Miracles Abuaji, the spokespersons, Agba and Kofi Tonto and the lady Ekua and so on. I mean, how many? Well, just maybe 5, 6. But there's a lot of talented communicators across the party. So we have to pull on that talent. If you take organization, I mean, there are very dedicated organizers across the regions who have shown dedication and talent, and do all of those will have to be put. So these are just the figureheads, and that it doesn't mean that this is the team that is going to bring victory to the campaign. But these basically are the teams that should do the mobilization of the whole party to bring them on board. Mind you, there's going to be a campaign team, which will come later, and that team, as the name implies, would be basically in charge of coordinating. I'm sure many of these people on this list will find themselves on the campaign team, but the campaign team, right now, the party hasn't finished its reorganization. The party decided to hold the presidential candidates early and as the first part of its reorganization, because of peculiar factors at the time. The party thought it wise to do that. Having done that successfully, the reorganization continues. The polling station, the party structure itself. The presidential candidates and the member of parliament technically are not in the party structure. They are standalone. And even though they have roles to play they are not part of the party structure per se. The party structure as provided in the constitution is the polling station, the electoral area. A number of polling stations form an electoral area, and then a number of electoral areas form a constituency. So polling stations, electoral areas, constituency, regional party, national party, which is the national executives, the National Executive Committee, and the National Council. These are the structures of the party. And the tenure of office about 4 years. That tenure has finished. So the party must go through a process to renew the mandate or bring in new people as the process will throw out. And so the party is embarked on that process as we speak. The polling station level has been completed. The 40,000 polling stations. I'm sure there are a few where the usual thing. We're conducting elections in 40,000 polling stations. You're going to have a dozen or 2 dozens with all kinds of issues. But basically,
issues will come.
Out of the 40,000, I'm sure about 90% are completed. And I think the party has even opened nominations for the constituency, because the polling station people who are going to elect the constituency executives. And so the party has opened nominations for constituency elections. So the party is embarked in that process as we speak. And after the constituency, they will go on to the regional elections to renew the mandates or bring in new people, and then the national elections. We hope that by September, November, this internal reorganization would be complete. And then the party, the new executives would then be looking at dates for the parliamentary. The parliamentary, there's going to be 2 categories. There's going to be what we call the orphan constituencies, which means constituencies without sitting MPP members of parliament. And then the incumbent, there'll be 2 different elections for that. So the party will hope to go through all of this, at least up to the national level. When we finish, hopefully by October, November, then we would, hoping that we'll be able to get a manifesto in place, the latest first quarter of 2027. So then we have a presidential candidate, we have our message, we have our national structure in place.
And then you have your...
And then we are poised. And our brothers and sisters in the NDC, they're going to probably start this process. Even though they haven't started, we know the kind of blows that are going on. And so we would then relax, focus, take advantage of our early presidential primaries and early reorganization, and take the fight to them, and take our message to the Ghanaian people.
Right. All right. So, Honorable Nana Akomea, my guest in the studio. Honorable, during the let's talk about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and who he is. During the Akufo-Addo administration, Dr. Bawumia was largely presented as the economic technocrat, the champion of digital transformation. Is that still the core of his political identity?
Yes. That is still the core. But beyond his credentials in terms of digital transformation, and let me mention quickly, Dr. Bawumia is bringing out 2 books, going to be published soon, on digital transformation in Africa. And that book, I have seen a few reviews, is dynamite.
Wow.
And if it's adopted as a blueprint across Africa, there will be great difference. But of course, he has to start from home, from Ghana. So
2 books, all right?
2 books, all on digital transformation in Africa. I think they will be launched in London and South Africa and in Ghana, I think. And the last draft arrangement that I saw. Now, beyond the digital depths of Dr. Bawumia, if you look at the ideas that he had championed, that found their way into the 2024 NPP manifesto. These are novel ideas that can radically change the way we do things in this country. Of course, this good for the Forex was something that he was very keen on and had actually started before the NPP left office. Let me give 1 or 2. Look, as we speak, we have a major infrastructure deficit in this country. If you take just roads, there's a big fight about hospitals going on and so on.
We'll get there.
Take roads. We don't have a lot of money. We're a poor country. We like to, you see the convoys of big politicians and you think we are a rich country, but we're a poor country. Now that the roads have come, look at the potholes on our major roads, and that's all.
Very serious.
And so we're a poor country. We don't have a lot of money. So we should be innovative. Now, the current government says it's going to get a lot of money internally to do what they can term big push.
Big push, yeah.
If they're able to get all the money, fine. But you see, we don't have a lot of it. There are schools that we don't have. There are, I'm sure you know, you report on this on a daily basis. Hospitals, no beds. You need more hospitals, and so on and so forth. Dr. Bawumia said the major roads that are commercially viable roads, and these are the big ones, Aflao to what's the other border? Elubo.
Elubo, that's
an international road.
Yeah.
From Aflao to Elubo. Yeah. It's a highly commercial road.
Yeah, it is.
Accra to Kumasi, to Sunyani, to Tamale. Yeah. It's a highly commercial road. Yeah. This road, because of the commercial viability
of them,
can be done by the private sector and tolled.
Okay.
When you go to many of these countries who have 6 lanes connecting cities and so on, every 50 kilometers there's a toll. You know, automatic these days because of digitalization, you don't have to stop. Yeah. You get there, it reads, it opens the gate for you, you go. You know,
but our toll booths have all been collapsed.
Yeah. But so you see, you can attract private capital.
Okay.
To do these major roads and take them off the government budget, so that the government budget can be applied to places where the roads are not commercially viable.
Okay.
And so private sector will not get yes. But that will free up a lot of money. And that's what Dr. Bawumia is going to pursue, and it's in the 2024 manifesto. And there are companies, huge companies, whose job is to deliver infrastructure. And then you come to terms, they toll, you agree on what the tolling is going to be, the number of years, and so on. But this government says we're going to find the money to do it. And the money to even repair the roads after this flooding, I don't know. So there's a lot of ideas beyond the digital ideas that Dr. Bawumia has that are in the NPP manifesto, which will be refined and presented again to the Ghanaian people. His idea on taxation, for example, you know, now everybody has a, you know, the Ghana card is also now everybody's tax number. So immediately,
that's his brainchild.
Immediately, 3 million taxpayers with records has been expanded to about 17 million. So 17 million people now have tax identification numbers. You know, so it gives scope to bring another 11, 12, 13 million people into the tax bracket who are outside the tax bracket now because they didn't have. They are not registered, but the Ghana card has now made them registered. So I don't know where you live, but in where I live, every time there are plumbers, there are electricians, there are painters going around the estate where I live, doing all kinds of work. And I don't even, they don't have any, they don't pay any tax, you know. And Bawumia has said, because now they have tax ID numbers, you can have a system where they can pay a flat, say, 100 cedis a month through the phone. No need to go to anywhere and fill any form because they already are registered for tax purposes. Can you imagine another 11, 12 million people paying 100 flat fee a month for tax purposes? The amount of money that would, you know, so a lot of ideas that Dr. Bawumia has.
Well, so the 2024 election result, somebody would ask, has that result forced a reassessment of the economic messiah narrative? Okay. And how does Dr. Bawumia reconcile his key role as a member of the previous administration with the need to present himself as a candidate of maybe change?
Of course, everybody will recognize that as a vice president, he was a key member of the government. So if the people were disappointed with the government, Dr. Bawumia would also suffer from that disappointment. You can't run away from it, and he will be the last person to run away from the successes or the failures of the government. I mean, we can do a lot of explanation for that.
Yeah.
You would agree that the first 3 years of the NPP, the last NPP administration between 2017 and 2019, the economy was stable.
Yeah.
I was working at the state transport, and the company had a golden 3 years simply because of the stable economy. Our costs, and in any business, is cost and revenue. Our costs were stable and low because of the stable macro situation between 2017 and 2019. With the COVID and what happened to the economy and the shocks and so on, and the CD, and in Ghana, the costs are related to the value of the dollar, because we are heavily import dependent. The fuel is imported. The electricity is imported. I mean, all the components for electricity are imported. We don't do much of them yet. Transformers, cables, the whole shebang. They are imported. So when the price of the dollar goes up, costs go up. So when the COVID came, 2021, 2022, and the economy suffered the blows, and cost the value of the dollar, or the price of the dollar began to rise, in an unprecedented manner. Cost across the economy, and STC, for example, in those 3 years, 2017, 2019, costs were about 26%. When we went into 2021, 2022, costs went to about 60%.
Wow.
So
incredibly high.
You paid salaries, you bought your petrol, there was nothing more, to even buy spare parts and so on. But that's just one example. And this cuts across the economy. If your cost in Asempa, Asase goes up by 30%, well, you can raise your advertising rates, so, but of course, the limitations of that.
Yeah.
But if you are not in a position to raise your revenue, like transport, where the revenue in terms of the fares are controlled, you are going to be in major difficulty. But you would agree that in the first 3 years, or maybe 3.5 years, the economy was stable.
Yeah, it was.
And then we got hit by the COVID. And the COVID threw everything out of gear. Look, we went into difficulty in 2015, 2016. If you remember, the last 2.5 years of President Mahama, there was no COVID. But look at the difficulties the economy, and the first 3 years were some of the best times for the Ghanaian economy in the Fourth Republic. But we got hit by the COVID, and so everybody's going to take the failure and the success with it. So we know our opponents will try and tag Dr. Bawumia with it. But let's remember that there's now an alternative, the NDC. And I'm sure we can get some 20-30 minutes to talk about the NDC. And I will demonstrate to you that they're not going to deliver any major improvements. They're not going to do any major improvement. So a reassessment will be done by the Ghanaians. They will look at what is the alternative that is being presented. For example, look at President Mahama in 2016. I don't think he himself thought he would be able to come back into office because of the disappointment the Ghanaian people had in him, and that reflected in the vote in 2016 general elections. But because of the difficulties that the NPP government went through 2021 to 2023, 2024, it's made Mahama come back.
So there could be that comeback for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. But how does he intend to reconnect, with voters who supported the NPP in 2020 but voted differently in 2024? And what's the compelling argument to younger voters who may feel disillusioned with both major parties?
He's going to present them with a compelling vision. And I have told you some of the steps that are going to be taken to arrive at that vision. We will start with the manifesto in 2024 and build upon it. And that vision will be assessed also in terms of the reality of what the NDC is delivering to young people. The famous promise they made to young people, 24-hour economy. Now, depending on who speaks, you don't know. Now they say it's markets. They said it's 133. Now they say it's market.
24-hour market.
Now they say it's market. And they're going to build those markets all over. The point is that you must create demand. When you create demand, there will be 24-hour operations. If there's no demand, you can't even have 12 hours operations. They haven't shown us how they're going to create demand. Merely putting up a market in WA, where they said they've removed some school to build a market, is the demand there going to be able to sustain 24-hour? Even Makola, the world famous Makola market, which is known all over the world. That market has been there for maybe 100 years. I don't think they operate 24 hours. So a market in WA, they're going to remove some old school. I heard about it on the radio. How that is going to do, I don't know. But you had made a definite promise that it's going to be 133.
Yeah, 133.
133 is simple and short. They showed some clock. You remember?
Yeah.
Yes. They said where there's one job today, there's going to be 2 additional jobs. So look at the number of public sector jobs. Just take public sector. Let me not even bring in Asasi Radio, but just public sector. So if there are maybe 300,000 teachers, or let's say 700,000 public sector workers, times 3 is going to be in excess of 2 million, isn't it? So, and that's what you promised the people. That is 133. Every job now is going to be done by 3 people in 3 shifts. So every job now will have 2 more. Now you say it's markets. Anyway, so Bawumia is going to present a compelling vision to the youth and to the people of this country. I believe that the message that we had in 2024, even though compelling, just got drowned in the general despondency that attended upon the government. And so the message wasn't going through. If you remember, John Mahama, the president, in 2017, he gave an interview and he admitted that, look, the situation was so despondent in 2016 that anything that he said wasn't getting through. He gave that interview. And he even said that in his view, somebody had gone and thrown some veil on the... I don't know if you saw that interview. You saw it? Yes.
I remember. You can, if you can even track that interview for us.
So he said that, somebody had covered the face of Ghana. But the despondency, basically, is such that people don't want even to listen to you.
How about those
even though the message was compelling. Now, going to 2028, we know that Ghanaians will be in a different situation to assess the message.
But there are some who think that the NPP did not aggressively, push out the communication well, because knowing what we know now, a lot of things that the NPP did, projects, legacy projects and all of that, they are all now coming to the fore. But it appears it was not really advertised out there back then for people to know the kind of work the NPP did during the 8 years.
I think the communication was superb. The context was not favorable. That's all. I mean, it's like you have good seed, but the soil that you are planting the seed is not receptive. That's the way I see it. I think, and I was closely monitoring the communication effort. And I believe that it was superb. Unless somebody can tell me that this and that should have been done, that wasn't. Of course, that doesn't mean it was perfect, but I thought it was very, very good. It's just that the soil, the context that people, the despondency was a lot. And you would agree that there was a lot of despondency. I don't want to go through the immense difficulties that we had. So we were really swimming against a tide. But we believe that 2028, the contest will be different.
The soil will be very fertile.
The soil conditions
will be very different. Okay, now let's talk about unity. Let's talk about internal tensions and political comeback is possible without internal cohesion, and the questions about unity continue to dominate discussions even outside the NPP and within the NPP. How united is the NPP today, honestly?
The party has always been united. In fact, what divides the party is internal elections. Because in internal elections, I am standing for a position, a call. Yourself, you are standing for a position. You have your supporters, I have my supporters, and it creates some division.
Sometimes has a rollover effect.
So after the elections, you want to make sure that all the various groups that supported different people are able to come together. You want to make sure, and it happens all the time. Even in NDC, you have to. They want to make sure that the different people come together. The advantage we have given ourselves is that we've done our major elections, in fact, the most crucial elections, early. So we have a bit of time to consolidate the party, and the flag bearer is quietly engaged in that effort. Many of the things that he is doing to bring everybody assuage feelings, because losing the major elections like that is not easy. He's embarking on them quietly. Some of them have come to the fore. Meetings that he's had with various personalities who have felt alienated from the NPP and not bringing in what they can. He's meeting all of them. Some of them have come out, and I'm sure you've seen many of them. But beyond that, he's meeting a lot more that haven't come out. Quiet,
on the quiet,
he's met with the people who contested him, and behind him formed queues of supporters. He's met with all of them. He's met with Kennedy Agyapong. He's met with Brian Agyapong. He's met with Kwabena Agyapong, and
Dr. Educhum.
And all of that. So, and they are supporters too. If you take communication, many of their spokespersons and active communicators are part of the team now, and so it's a continuing effort. And I believe that when the hurt feelings have been assuaged and so on, people, it always happens. Sometimes
some observers have suggested that the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong has maintained a relatively low profile in the party's efforts to regain power following his defeat to Dr. Bawumia in the presidential primaries. Do you agree with that assessment? And in your view, has Dr. Bawumia's camp done enough to, as it were, bring him on board, actively engage him in the campaign? Because recently he publicly criticized the NPP over the stalled projects such as the Afari military hospital. Do you see his comments as constructive criticism or a sign of unresolved tensions?
There are people in the NPP who raise issues about the NPP. We hope that those issues are raised internally, that's within the NPP, but you don't always have it like that. Recently, the two cabinet ministers raised, in fact, took their own government to task over this, the treatment of suspects. You remember, two cabinet ministers came out to say that what their own government is supervising is very, very wrong. So I'm sure they could have expressed those views internally, but they chose to do it publicly. Some will say, look, internal democracy, once it doesn't degenerate into beyond a certain point, and so raising issues about how the party or the government could have done it better in public. Like I'm saying, we hope that it's done internally. But once a while, people on the spare. But look, I was at a meeting when Dr. Bawumia met with Kennedy Agyapong.
Yeah.
It was a very cordial meeting. He said to Dr. Bawumia that he wanted to take a quiet time.
Okay.
And that at the appropriate time, he'll come on board.
Okay.
Many a time, some of these things are said as outbursts, with a bit of anger and so on.
Yeah.
But when the anger cools down, people will then act in a certain frame. So I am not particularly worried about some of these things. People who come out, look, a lot of things were said against Dr. Bawumia by sitting members of parliament. I don't want to repeat some of them, but some of them were really vicious.
Yeah, they were.
Even his wife was attacked. Some even tried to tag his wife as a foreigner who would not bring anything to internal elections, but people were able to do. And I'm sure from all sides, people purported to support this candidate. But these are all internal matters. We have a council of elders, very, very vibrant council of elders that consists of very seasoned people, and they are going to be seized with the job of bringing everybody on board. The Kwame Kojo PNEs, the Adokufuos, the Hackman also Ajimans, all of them are in that council of elders, and they are very eager to start working. And the presidential candidate has met with them a few times, and they are very eager to start working. And so, can you imagine if we had the primaries, the presidential primaries at the end of 2026, 2027? So they will spend the first half of 2028 trying to
heal wounds.
But we've done it now, and I'm sure with the caliber of people at the Council of Elders, very soon you will see that the atmosphere will be stable. But generally, the party is calm. The party is going through the reorganization, like I mentioned. The polling station, which is the most crucial part, because you're doing that in 40,000 polling stations. Once you successfully do that, the rest of the process, they coming together to elect coordinators and constituency executives coming together to elect regional executives coming together to elect national executives. It's a much smoother process, and so that's what the party is focused on now.
Okay, all right. Now, is there sufficient space within the party for dissenting voices without being viewed as disloyal? Because if you monitored this morning,
every organization, you are not going to think alike. In Asasi Radio, it's not always that you and your production team, this is your breakfast show that you do so well. I stumbled upon a segment of your show a couple of days ago, and also I think they call it a governance
report. That's a governance report.
I stumbled upon it, I didn't know, and I was highly pleased with it. I mean, splendid breakfast show that you people offer, but I'm sure there are disagreements.
Oh yes.
The thing is that you don't want somebody to come and sit behind this microphone and say, hey. So that's what disagreements, because even in the family, you're not going to see eye to eye with all your siblings on every issue. But you want that is handled internally. But so every party knows that we are there because we believe in a cause, not because we all think alike. We believe in a cause. So once in a while it happens. It's how you deal with it. And like I'm saying, the NPP has a very good infrastructure in the body of the Council of Elders, and I'm sure they'll be seized with this. Give it a little bit of time and you'll see.
All right. So for those of you who were wondering whether the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong has been spoken to or not, Honorable Akomea has revealed here that he actually said he wanted to take a little break, and that he will come back as and when. So that's the news there. But let's talk about the grassroots. Let's talk about elitism and the connection with the youth. Now, does the party accept the criticism that it is increasingly perceived as an elitist party?
Oh no, that is the tag.
Yes.
That or the branding that the NDC, our opponents, will try to give us. But obviously, the Ghanaian people do not believe so. I mean, this is a party that, and the grassroots are always the majority.
Yeah.
So if you are tagged as anti-grassroots or the anti-common people, you're never going to win any election in this country. And so the fact that we've won massively in the year 2000 and in the year 2016 shows that is this elitist thing is just propaganda by the NDC. Now look at it this way also. The NPP, arguably, is the party that has brought some of the most fundamental benefits to the ordinary people. Name any of them. Free secondary school education.
National health.
It's a major that allows people who otherwise would have been deprived
National health insurance.
To access secondary education. National health insurance. What intervention in the health delivery of this country since the Fourth Republic rivals the national health insurance? The NDC opposed it. I was sitting in Parliament. They abstained. You know, they said they didn't want to be part of it. Beyond that, the disability law that was passed when, I should proudly say, when I was working in the Ministry of Employment and Social Welfare, renamed Manpower, with my big sister Frema, championed the disability law that provides the framework for social inclusion of marginalized disabled people. LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, which targets the poorest of the poor and gives them a stipend, and it's been acclaimed internationally. Introduced at the time when I was working at the Ministry of Manpower, or now named Employment and Social Welfare, and working with my big sister Frema Oseey, we introduced the LEAP, the National Youth Employment Program, which was brought as a direct intervention to provide temporary relief to young people, which then was bastardized into JIDA. You remember?
Yeah.
And then JIDA up to today is one of the bywords for corruption in this country when our NDC friends took over. But when it was National Youth Employment Program, we had taken it to a level that if you spoke to the TUC, they will tell you it was one of the best innovations in terms of providing a relief for unemployed people. So a lot of these big social interventions that directly impact on the lives of ordinary people were championed by the NPP. So if anybody goes to tell somebody that, oh, these are elitist people, I mean, it doesn't hold water.
Right. I'm sure Honorable Anthony Kabo's role in organization and youth inclusion will translate into some measurable outcomes that everybody will be, looking out for. How does the party plan to engage, especially first-time voters who have grown up amid this economic hardship that we?
Well, you need to reach them through their medium of communication. The medium of communication of young people is not the same as when you and I were, when I was growing up.
Okay.
And even when you are much, I'm sure you are much younger, but even when you are growing up, now it's changed.
Yeah.
Yes, so we must reach them. I have teenagers, children, and I know their consumption of media. We must reach them in those media, and we have an active people, Krobia, Asante, and his colleagues, Naifa, very good people, working with Miracles and Agyapong to activate those media to reach the 18 to 25-year-olds. But more importantly, the message.
Yeah.
It's a digital world. Yeah. These people are the digital generation. Yeah. And globally, I'm sure the biggest 20 companies in the world today are digital companies. Yeah. The last time, 2 days ago, I heard some small software company is selling their software to Elon Musk for $6 billion.
Oh.
Nobody's heard of this software company before. And the digital economy allows you to work from anywhere and so on. We need to sell the digital message to these young people. Yeah. And the biggest problem these young people face is employment.
Yeah.
And this 24-hour economy that was promised them, that was going to give them relief, is still born. Maybe they can do some magic over the next 1.5 years. I don't know. But if you look at where they are going, marketing and so on, he's not going to deliver much. So it is up to us, the NPP, now to present the young people with an alternative through the medium that will connect with them. And I can tell you we are poised for that.
Right. Now, let's turn to the broader national conversation around governance and accountability. Bring in how does the party respond to criticism that unresolved governance issues contributed significantly to the electoral defeat?
Which governance issues?
I mean, with the issue of Ken Ofori-Atta, and at a point people within the party were even calling for his sack and all of that. Again, I wanted to find out whether there are lessons that the party has learned about accountability while in government.
Oh, is this government accountable? You see, and
that's why you're different. That's why.
But you see, that's the that's the difficulty. They are the ones running around saying, "Look, Ken Ofori-Atta, is he NPP? Is he the NPP party?
He's a member.
He's a member of the NPP."
Yeah.
If you believe, you remember in the NPP's time, Ken Ofori-Atta, there was some accusations against him. He actually went before Parliament.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
He went before a whole committee of Parliament.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is.
And it was live.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, if you come into office or into power, you have said Ken Ofori-Atta is a bad person, he's misappropriated risk, and you've Ghanaians have listened to your message and you have come into office. And my good friend, the Attorney General, is a master.
Dominic Ayine.
Yes, he's a master at media prosecution. And so when he does the media prosecution, you know that this in the you know that Dale, the man has really chopped money or misbehaved. And then you go to court. And then we see what is happening in court today in many of the issues. So you've said so many things about Ken Ofori-Atta. And when they do the media prosecution, the feeling you get is that if you have this solid evidence, why don't you go ahead and present the evidence before a court of law and prosecute the man? I'm sure he will appoint lawyers and so on to also come and let the issues be presented in courts. Because look, there's a similar one. This woman, what's her name, who's just been repatriated for
Sedinam.
Yeah, she fled. She left the jurisdiction. They said she was sick, and she never came back because the evidence was solid. The prosecution went ahead, isn't it? And a conviction was secured, isn't it? It is. And that is the basis for the Americans bringing her back today to serve her sentence. So after the media prosecution, I think it was a serious, special prosecutor and the Attorney General. One does an event today, the other one does an event the next day, and so it looks like you have all the evidence. So go and present them in court. Let the man also bring his lawyers to also come and have his defense in court. At the end of the day, the court will decide. For 1.5 years, they've made it an issue of the repatriation of. But you have the evidence. Go ahead. The man will be compelled to defend himself. So I don't see. At the end of the day, it is not the media trial.
Yeah,
it is the evidence that you have that you present in court. And from what you told us in the media trial, it looks like you have a lot of evidence. But like I'm saying, there was disappointment against the government of the NPP. Many of them have been documented. The difficulty that led the government pursue the policy of the debt, the DDEP, this unfortunate spectacle of pensioners sitting in. And there are a lot of things. And the result is that our mandate was not renewed.
Yeah.
These people have come. They sold a vision, an alternative vision to the country. Now, we don't see that alternative vision. Recently, we were told that the Institute of Economic Affairs had done a survey, and the approval ratings for the president has reduced. I am not surprised, because the promises and the vision the NDC sold to Ghanaians, the alternative, and they are in office, and we don't see the alternatives. So they've managed to bring the price of the dollar from 14 to about 12 cities today, isn't it? But the NPP had also reduced the price of the dollar from 17 to 14.
Yeah, at a point,
Yes, when they took off, it was 14.
Yeah.
You've brought it, today is 12.
Yeah.
So let's say it's cheaper, but that process had begun. And then the inflation, they've brought it up to what? 4 let's say 4%. But the NPP had brought it from 54 to 23. And you have brought it from 23 to 4. And you say you've done better or you've done well. Fine. What is the impact? We are an import-dependent economy. Look at this, your studio. Everything here is imported. I am sure, I'm trying to look for maybe the water. What water is this? Okay, maybe the water is local. But from your microphones, to your consoles, to the tiling on the walls, and to your lights, to the headphones that you have, to your monitors, everything is imported. If you need to replace them, you have to get dollar. So if the price of the dollar is down, it should translate into your cost. But you know what they've done? They've brought a new system at the ports, which has raised import duty sometimes 100% and so on. Isn't it? They said they call it some AI system, isn't it? And there's been a running battle between them and the importers and so on. So that new system, the reduction in the price of the dollar, which should have led to a reduction in costs across the economy, is negated by the introduction of the AI or whatever, which has raised duties. So the impact of the reduction of the price of the dollar is not being felt much. You see, because of the duties that they have raised, 50%, 100%, and so on. This inflation thing that they've also brought to, what is the impact? If you track the price of this water, that you have, this bottle of water here, you would see that the inflation, it doesn't correspond to the price of this. And I use this example because I'm sure it's an example that many people will I use sunlight soap for washing, to wash clothes and so on. I used to buy it for 5 cedis a cake. In the last 2-3 months, it's gone up to 7 cedis. Sunlight on the streets. I buy it Manet Junction. There's a roadside market there. That's where I buy the soap. It's gone up to 7 cedis. This is because it's on the street. I don't think they have VAT and all of that. You know.
On it.
But from 5 cedis, it's gone to 7. What is the percentage?
And
it's much more. Sorry.
Go on.
It's much more than the 4-3% that you're talking about, and it cuts across. And you know something, because a lot of services in this country is dollar denominated. Because people were still skeptical if the cedi will be stable. So many of the cost of services, schools and so on, is dollar denominated. So now that they are getting what the reduction in the price of the dollar means that they don't get the same cedis. So you know what they've done? They've increased. So if you actually did track pricing, you will find out that this inflation of 4% is not being reflected. Yeah. Look, electricity,
more artificial.
It's just a statistical average, but it doesn't reflect in the pocket. The electricity, which is key, because as we sit here with all these powerful air conditioners, we are consuming electricity. Yeah. It's been increased by how many percent in the last 1.5 years? You know, electricity.
That's going up.
A lot.
Yeah, it's going up.
Over 20%.
Yeah, it is.
And that is what goes into your costing, not the statistical 3%, 4%. So even that, the impact is not being felt. Right. And then the promises itself. Look, let me start with this.
Okay, so we are already there. We are evaluating the performance of the current NDC administration. That's where we are now. We've entered there without me announcing it. Honorable has found a way to push us there already. So we are there.
Thank you for your indulgence. But you see, let me finish with this inflation thing. Recently, we were told by the Bank of Ghana that the cost of bringing the inflation from 23 to 4%, and the cost of the forest operations that has brought the cedi from 14 to about 12 cedis a dollar. There's been the cost, billions of cedis. I mean, they themselves put it out. There was a dispute about the losses, but what they themselves put out or they claim is that they are insisting on 16 billion. Cedis. That should easily give you over $1 billion, isn't it? For my money, the dollar value, the price, depends largely on demand. Ghanaians are demanding the dollar to import. What are they importing? They are importing sugar. Rice. So if I have $2 billion, I mean, if 16 billion cedis divided by 12, how much is that going to give you? About 1.3, 1.4 billion dollars.
1.4.
But let's say 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars. President Mahama put up a sugar factory in 2016. As we speak,
is it the Commander one?
Yes.
Okay.
As we speak, it hasn't been operationalized. They told us they needed some 30 million to do the outgrower schemes, isn't it? That's why they couldn't operationalize it. We import about $80 million worth of sugar into this country every year. So if you put 30, 40 million, if you have $1.3 billion, and you put 30 or 40 million into the one to rehabilitate the factory, because the factory has been lying idle since 2016. If you put some 30, 40 million to rehabilitate the factory and do the outgrower scheme so that local people can have finance to grow the sugar cane and so on, and you are successful, you're going to save $100 million straight away in the importation of sugar. Same for rice. Why do Ghanaians consume foreign rice? Because they like it. So if you're going to invest another maybe $50 million to set up rice milling that can mill Ghanaian rice to the same quality like the basmatis and so on. You will save hundreds of millions that we used to import rice from India and China Pakistan and Indonesia and Korea. Isn't that what you should be doing? Because that will give you a more permanent and sustainable solution to the demand for the dollar. But what you are doing is you are doing market operations. You've pumped in 16 billion. How is that going to be sustainable? As we speak, the once your reserves get finished, and you can't pump in money to do market operations, the demand will still be there, and so the price of the dollar will be going up. So, and then you look at the promises. Look, the currently we have flooding all over the place. When NPP was in office, there was 1 year that there was drought. The current president himself, he told Ghanaians that because of bad governance,
I remember,
there's the Insunukra Ankoye. Then in the years when there was heavy rainfall and there was flooding, He said that the flooding is due to NPP's bad governance. So drought is due to bad governance. Flooding is due to bad governance. So when you make all of this, and then you said when you come, you remove sanitation and pump the money to local government, and they'll be doing the deserting and the flooding will cease. You really saw all those videos. And then people vote for you. And then you come into office, and then there's flooding. Then you tell them, oh, the fault is indiscipline. And then the chiefs are selling land that they shouldn't, places they shouldn't. People would be disappointed. You look. Let me Black Stars. The Black Stars lost so much in President Akufo-Addo's time. Mahama said it was bad governance. You remember? I see a Mambo Bonington, it affected the Black Stars. And that when he comes, if the Ghanaians vote for him, he is going to bring the kind of governance that would improve the fortunes of the Black Stars. He even said specifically that he was going to rely on the core of the team. He's going to have them the local players because they've played together for a long time, and then you have just one or two foreign players. Isn't that a promise he made to Ghanaians? And then recently, the Black Stars lost one match by 5 goals to 0.
I think against Austria.
So when you blame Black Star performance on bad governance, and you make a specific promise. Today, as you see, the Black Star team that is playing in the World Cup, there's only maybe 2 local players. So people will be disappointed. But be that as it may, if the Black Stars lose some match and somebody says it's bad governance, how are you going to take it? But you made all of these promises to Ghanaians, and look at this soul sourcing thing. Major scandal. Major scandal. Things they said against.
But the presidency says 90% went through competitive bidding. Over 90%.
So you have an investigation done by a reputable institution called the Fourth Estate. And they found that about 80% of these contracts were done through sole sourcing. The NDC said sole sourcing was bad. They put it in their 2020 manifesto that they were going to work against sole sourcing. They put it in their 2024 manifesto. President Mahama spoke about it in his State of the Nation address in 2025. He spoke about it in his State of the Nation address in 2026. In 2026, he even said he's bringing legislation to change it. Then you have all of this sole sourcing actually happening. And the Fourth Estate based their findings on information they had through the RTI. So it's not their own head. Then everybody is alarmed in the country that, hey, you see what is going on? These people said they won't do soul sourcing, and soul sourcing will be extremely rare. Now soul sourcing seems to be the norm, the itch, like you young people put it. And then what did they do? They then were told by the Minister for Communication Monday that the presidency appointed somebody in the office of the president, and they investigated, and they found that the soul sourcing isn't much. So I have raised the question that is the NDC also big? Because you remember in President Akufo-Addo's time, some of the issues that were raised against members of his government. He also instituted some internal investigation. And the results of the investigation, when he announced it, the NDC said, why would you appoint or conduct investigation into conduct by your members of your government?
Is that why you said President Mahama is the chief clearing agent?
Because they said Akufo-Addo, the president at that time, by appointing his appointees to go into investigation against other appointees and coming to give them a clean bill of health, amounted to clearing agency. And they gave him a nickname, clearing agent. And then you sold the idea to the Ghanaian people that you cannot do that. You have to let a neutral organization or a statutory organization do the investigation. Then you come into office. Ghanaians buy it. You come into office. There's this sole sourcing charges against members of your government. And what do? You appoint somebody in your office to investigate. And the result we are told is that there's nothing
They have
wrong.
all been cleared.
So you're also doing clearing agency. So did we go or did we come? And I can tell you,
All right.
many people are disappointed. Many people are, because
It's to the NPP's advantage, isn't it?
well, I'm looking at what is advantageous to the country. Because if there's sole sourcing, and they said that sole sourcing leads to inflation of contracts, it leads to, and when you look at what the fourth estate put up, monies have been put into
figures
contract.
are huge.
They're huge. Monies have been allocated to head office.
Yeah.
Monies have been allocated for luxury vehicles for a 25-kilometer road. And all of this, they have the documents there. They show the documents on the media.
Yeah.
So that pothole on the Spintex road that is not being fixed is because money is being lost through sole sourcing. So it's not even about NPP. It's about the nation.
Right.
They can't clean the gutters. Now that these rains are falling, go and see the gutters. Maybe some money is going to, so if that money was available, maybe the gutters or the potholes could have been filled. So it affects us as a country. You know,
I'm sure
it's not even just NPP. So these are the promises they made to Ghanaians.
And it must
Specific. Look, the president told us that the current president, that they have every power to deal with Galamsey. And that if the Ghanaians voted for him, he's going to use those powers to deal with Galamsey.
Yeah.
There's been no progress. Go and look at the river bodies.
Is there anything good this government has done?
Like I said, bringing the price of the
Which is not reflecting.
it's not reflecting, but now they must make it reflect. I like that it should potentially reduce costs, because like I said, I know what macro instability can do to business. And so when they did that, I was happy, bringing the cost of the dollar down. But what the countermeasures that they're doing at the ports and so on, and also the money, the alternative that they could have done, like actually pumping the money into production of the things that we import, you know. So the impact is not there, and that is the reason why the ratings is coming down so drastically, you know. So if we had time, I would have taken you through a lot of.
We have just about 6 minutes to
look at the LGBTQ something.
Yeah.
Look at the noise they made. They told the Ghanaian people that the NPP is a party that promotes LGBT. They sold that message to Ghanaians. And then you come in, the Ghanaians buy your message. You come into office, and the president is telling us that, that LGBT is not a priority. You heard him. Hey, this message that you use to rouse religious leaders and all kinds of people against NPP, today is not a priority. In any case, being forced by the weight of public opinion to deal with that LG, because the major promise they made to Ghanaians, they go and whittle it down with over 30 amendments. And when you look at what the religious people are saying and so on, there's a lot of disappointment with what was promised and what was delivered. I was going to read to you as my conclusion.
Okay, do that.
Something that civil society had talked, at the comments they had made about this soul sourcing thing. I don't know if I can find it.
Take your time and find it. I have some messages here. I'll quickly run by them. You found it? Let me go through the messages.
No, yeah, okay. So let me look.
Okay.
Transparency International.
Okay.
Commenting on soul source. They said it is sad. The double standards are just too many.
Okay.
It is sad that people who stood on the pulpit to say one thing come into office and do other things. This is Transparency International.
Yeah.
The African Center for Energy Policy, they said, the NDC didn't criticize soul sourcing out of concern for the public. As now, they are benefiting from it. Imani, that's Franklin Kujo's stuff. He said, we're hoping abuses of soul sourcing were going to be curtailed in this new reset agenda. But with these dizzying numbers, we are lost as a country. So the disappointment is building up
gradually, and it's very fast.
This clearinghouse thing, Grass, is hit me so badly that the very things that you said were not good,
you're doing them.
You're doing the same, and you are happy about it and telling us about it. That these grievous charges that were made about soul sourcing by what is it? Fourth Estate,
yeah.
Very grievous.
Yeah,
and they give figures.
I think we did an elaborate document. We had an elaborate conversation on it.
That the president, my good friend John Mahama, appoints somebody in his office. They have investigated. I think it's a she. She has investigated and found nothing wrong. So same thing you accuse Akufo-Addo and promise the Ghanaian people a reset, and you are doing the same. You are not even embarrassed. You are actually happily telling us about it.
We have 5 minutes to wrap up here, but a few messages here. Neil from Abusukai says, Chief, Nana Akomea, you people keep telling us about digitalization and the port clearing systems, but the reality is that the city's instability has continuously eaten up our capital over the years. When the NDC was there, we complained about the economy. Under your government, things became even harder for the local businessman. When we look at both parties, why should the trader believe Dr. Bawumia has a magic wand to fix the economy when he has been the head of economic management team? Okay, now Kwame Oseey from Kumasi says, Nana, we are NPP to the bone, but we have to speak the truth. Look at the delays with the Kumasi Central Market Phase 2 and various inner city roads over the years. When the NDC comes here, they say the NPP takes Kumasi for granted and only does massive work in Accra. Why does it seem like our loyalty doesn't translate into fast-track development? Give us a concrete reason why we shouldn't just sit home during elections if both sides ultimately leave our project lagging. Idrisu from Tamale says, Nana Akomea, our land gives Ghana its gold, but look at our roads. Furthermore, the Galamsey menace has ruined our water bodies under both NDC and NPP administrations. The NPP promised to stop it but failed to contain it. The NDC's approach in the past wasn't better either. Since both parties seem paralyzed by the political risk of fighting Galamsey, what specific non-negotiable strategy is Dr. Bawumia bringing that makes him different from Nanado and John Mahama on this issue? And the very last one, Della from Anloga says, Nana, while Accra is talking about flooded roads, we in the Volta region are losing our entire life savings. Right now, acres of farmlands in Zeta and Anyonyi are completely underwater. For years, our traditional leaders and farmers have begged for the dredging of the Kete Lagoon so excess water can drain safely, but successive governments just ignore us. The NDC treats Volta as their stronghold but left us vulnerable. The NPP looks at our voting numbers and gives us low responses. If Dr. Bawumia claims he wants a modern, resilient economy, what is his exact immediate plan to dredge the Keta Lagoon and protect the breadbasket of this region? Kwesi Boche from Ashaman says, Nana, yes, citizens must stop dumping refuse, but the Ghana Institution of Engineers and Urban Planners say the real issue is a systemic failure of state enforcement, allowing concrete structures to build over natural wetlands and floodplains. If the state machinery under the NPP cannot enforce, under the NDC cannot enforce this, how does Dr. Bawumia plan to change the institutional indiscipline that has paralyzed both the NPP and the NDC for the last 30 years?
I think the core of the interest from your esteemed listeners is that what is Bawumia going to do differently?
Yeah.
And of course, Dr. Bawumia is not. It's a different person, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a different person. We have never given him the opportunity to be president. Yes, he was vice president. We don't talk about John Mahama being vice president, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you know that it's a presidential system that we run. Bawumia, as vice president, carved a niche for himself. In fact, he is the arguably, he's the vice president who's had the most impact.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the vice presidents who have come and gone, there was this gentleman called Aka. I'm sure if you ask many Ghanaians what they remember, it's probably good some fights that he had with Rawlings.
Yeah.
There's also Mills as vice president. If you ask many people what they remember as what Mills did as vice president, they will have difficulty. There was Alui in the NPP's time. I think he said he was going to do some discipline thing. Very nice man, but if you ask many Ghanaians what was achieved as vice president, they will have difficulty. John Mahama as vice president in between 2009 to 2012, the first half of it, many people will not remember what he did as vice president. But Bawumia as vice president from 2017 to 2024, many people would remember the impact he had. He had to force, because really there isn't much role for the vice president in our constitution. Everything is with the president. So he had to force to carve a niche for himself. And we all agreed he made an impact. Now, even where there was no definite role assigned to the vice president by the constitution, he managed to carve his own niche. You can imagine when he is president and has constitutional mandate as president. People say, oh, he was the head of the economic management team. You know, when the people of Ghana complain about the economy, who did they want out? They wanted the finance minister out. You remember the finance minister appointed the 14-man team to manage the city and all of that. So this business about his economic management team, frankly, is exaggerated. Of course, I don't blame my opponents for using it, but it's clearly exaggerated. And I believe that Dr. Bawumia has not been tested as president. And if you look at the performance of this government, 24-hour economy is turning to markets in all kinds of places you never heard of. And the promises are not being done. They said soul sourcing is happening rampantly. They say clearinghouse. They are also a clearinghouse now. You talk about corruption. Their own people are complaining about corruption. If we had time, we would have just gone through.
We'll do it again.
The alternative is Bawumia. And it is not, he is not the alternative just because he's the presidential candidate of the NPP. So Ghanaians should turn to him automatically. You look at his track record in the things that he actually said he engaged himself in as vice president. You look at the ideas, many of which are in the NPP manifesto. And I can tell you, in the next 2.5 years, the ideas and the vision that he's going to sell to the Ghanaian people will be so compelling that we would have no choice but to have him lead us.
Right. Honorable Nana Akomea, thank you very much for coming. And I know that politics is not only about winning elections, it's also about restoring public trust. And as both the NPP and the NDC navigate their respective responsibilities as opposition and government, the ultimate verdict will belong to the Ghanaian people. And this is a matter.
I think you put
a matter of Shawasitim.
I think you put it better than I do.